We are Nerd Cult Online, and this is the final episode of our Space Marine 2 series. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the operations mode, where you actually do basically player team-up matches with up to 2 squad mates, or you can set it to actually play with just AI. Now, at the time of recording this, we hadn't completed the story mode yet, and so we only had 2 options available to us: the ballistic engine and termination. We chose termination basically to take on that sick Hierophant. Pretty sure I said that right, but could be wrong. So as I mentioned, in this mode, you basically team up with up to 2 more players, and then you go and essentially play a story mission, or essentially a extra campaign mission in this case. And this is actually part of the free update that Focus actually recently released. And it is an entirely new campaign. So as I've done with all of the other online modes, I chose a heavy to play and basically just get right into the thick of it. Now, this is actually the only time I've played this particular mission, so I don't know if this is actually how the mission starts, if I started in the middle of these 2 other players' campaign. But either way, it was a great way to get into it and just right into the fray. In here, you can actually change your loadout if you don't like the default. But for me, I am a big fan of the heavy bolter and stuck with it. But as you can see in these campaigns, the game is just as gorgeous as before. And one thing I really like about it, and I believe you see this in the footage we took, but the game is actually quite forgiving if you're not that great at it yet, like myself, compared to your teammates. So while my teammates were staying alive, it gave them ample time to come and pick me up every time I'd fall. Likewise, it would also give them the ability where if I wasn't able to be picked up, that they were able to actually carry on, and then I come back and join them later on. And it seems that there is essentially unlimited lives in that case. My guess is that as long as one person stays alive, you're gonna be good. But I could be wrong there. Now, here there's a lot of the heavy Tyranids, or Tyranids rather. Wow, I can't believe I screwed that one up. Especially since Tyranids are one of my absolute favorite factions. But the layouts of the maps make a lot of sense, honestly, for the mission itself. There's no real, useless directions that it really takes you on. Within the context, it all works. And one thing I like is that even as the heavy against these guys, you still have the ability to parry and fight back. And that was one of the times that, one of the many times they picked me up. And overall, this game just continues to prove just how perfect it absolutely is. I honestly have yet to actually find anything wrong with the game, other than just the menu system for doing online mode. And with that being my only real complaint, I think that is a hell of accomplishment. You know, everything I've played so far just absolutely remains beautiful. You know, clear that they spent a huge amount of time on just the level of detail, and the mechanics, never had any issue with that. The controls absolutely make sense. Definitely very intuitive. Didn't have to spend a lot of time to really figure them out, and kind of just get into the grind and start tearing things up with that heavy bolter. So absolutely loving the game as a whole. And out of all of the online modes I've played, this one is by far my favorite. I prefer playing a cooperative online mode versus a competitive mode or like a PvP mode. And especially when you get in with a group that is as talented as the two gentlemen I was playing with. They absolutely just dominated the mode, and sadly they had to carry me most of the way. You know, I wasn't afraid to get into the thick of it, but just definitely not skilled at their level, and you know, definitely pushed myself a little too far, too soon in a lot of cases, and they would have to basically help save me from myself more times than not. But even so, you know, there was no, you know, messages from the other players telling me how bad I sucked, even though I did, and there was no issues as far as the actual gameplay with them. You know, it just very much was, you know, playing together to see how far we could go and how well we could do as a team, and that's all that really mattered. And I had an absolute hell of a time. It was just so much fun. Absolutely loved it, start to finish. And again, the visuals on it, even if the game sucked, the visuals would have made up for it alone, and they're amazing. So, you know, again, the only fault I can find with this game is just the online menu being within the actual campaign story, and having to go into that and load that up in order to load these modes up. And even that, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a matter of being a little patient. And you know, it's well worth the cost of just a fantastic game, and overall super enjoyable experience start to finish. And I can't wait till I actually don the armor and get back into it again, and you know, see how well we can do and how far we can go together. But that's it for today. There's a couple more minutes of our continued gameplay. You know, enjoy the carnage. Again, had a lot of fun. But thank you guys as always for watching. I'll catch you next time.
Restorative procedure successful. Motor skill regenerated.